normally he's the one who's handing over, so it'd be great to keep him on his toes this evening and actually share with you all exactly these 10 bucket list destinations. So the first one, I think we can see here, Miles, are you going to give everybody a bit of view on Dubai and what you actually like to get out of Dubai when you actually go there?
Yeah, well, this picture's taken of me. Actually, I think you were on this trip with me, Nick. And so a lot of people go, well, why do you go to Dubai? And why would this be one of the places that would be on a list of places for me personally? Well, it's because of a few things, really. The weather, very, very consistent with the weather, particularly when the weather in the UK is poor. It isn't the cheapest destination, of that there is no doubt. But what they do deliver is fantastic food and fantastic service. And so, if I'm in the mood, as I say, for relaxation, and I generally go to Dubai pretty much every year in October, it is simply to relax. And that particular picture there was taken when we went out into the desert, and you drive those things up and down the dunes. It is the most amazing day out, and shows that, whilst the majority of the time I go there to sit around a pool and relax, there are other things that you can do in Dubai. Obviously, that's one where you go out and do a bit of all action. But you've also got the Burj Khalifa, the amazing tower there. You've also got the Burj Al Arab. You've got the Atlantis Hotel. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And one of the other things, and a reason that Nick and I went out there was for us to go to the Dubai Rugby Sevens, which is something that maybe you wouldn't think about going to. And we went there, and you think, well, you've got to be a rugby nut to want to go for something like that. But actually, it was a huge social event out there. It's massive. And we had a fantastic time there. There's an awful lot goes on, more than just the rugby itself. Would you agree, Nick, on that?
Yeah, absolutely, Miles. Of course, I think, like you've said, it gives something for everybody. So whether you're there with your family or whether you're there as a couple, there's so much experience there in the day. And I think to actually go down there and take your time, you can take in the rugby games if you like. There's also so much things to do around in that arena that it's a fantastic day. And I think when we were there, I think we must have been there for several hours and upwards, mustn't we? I think there's that much to do.
Yeah, there is. The other thing that's always a challenge for Dubai, and probably this is the question I get asked more than anything when people talk to me about why I go and what I do, is where do I stay when I go to Dubai? Because, it is full of amazing hotels. And I think for me personally, I have a favorite, and the favorite is in the Jumeirah complex of hotels. There's a number of them. There's 5, I think, hotels in that complex now. And the reason I choose to stay there if I can is because it's very central for getting to the Palm or getting to the city. And at the same time, I mentioned it's quite expensive in Dubai. You can get half board offers there. And if you take the hard board offer there, you can eat in any one of, I think it's probably about 60 restaurants, something like that, in the whole of the complex. They take you around by golf buggy or even by these little boats that navigate through the canals there. And it just means that your evening, you get a different choice of restaurants. You haven't got all the stress of getting a taxi to here, there, and everywhere. And it just makes it a lovely, lovely place to go. And so, that would be my choice. You'd probably give a different choice, Nick. Would you, or would you agree with me?
Yeah, well, actually, again, I haven't actually done and actually been to those Jumeirah properties, Miles, and actually you can utilise, as Miles has said, the hardboard option you can use in any hotel. So there's even one, for example, say in the city called the Emirates Towers. And I was saying to Miles, I've had one of the best stays I've ever had there. But again, that was all part of the price that you paid for your holiday. So again, it's a cost-effective way to actually travel to that destination. As Miles has said, it's not the cheapest, but the service second to none, as you've said, Miles. And I think, from that side for me, again, whether you want that kind of beach holiday and sit there and do nothing or go out and venture, you've already mentioned the Burj Khalifa, but certainly from my side, I would definitely recommend to actually do a Dow dinner cruise. And that's where in the actual creek in Dubai, you get to see the city in the evening. So it's all illuminated. It's so pretty, and you get your actual dinner actually on the actual Dow. And then also, of course, you can't go, in my view, to Dubai without tasting one of the dinner dune safaris, where you're taken out, picked up from your hotel, taken out into the desert, and then you're actually laid out in an actual Arabian camp. And there's food are plentiful, drink are plentiful, and you can go and do things like quad biking or go and ride a camel if you so wish as well. So again, a lot of experience if you actually want that from actual Dubai, Miles. But I think also from kind of my side, there's that quiet part if you want to rest too.
We need to move on because we're only halfway through, because my one on Dubai actually is to offer it and do it as a twin center with this amazing place. So I would do a few nights in Dubai and then I would go out here. This is Mauritius. This is my favorite hotel in Mauritius. It's called the Paradis. It's situated down in the southwest corner of the island. As you can see, the setting is spectacular. That's Le Morne, the mountain behind it. The picture that you're looking there on the screen almost looks too good to be true. But I can assure you it is not. It looks every inch as good as it looks in that picture. It's a special place for me. I learned to water ski there because the water sports are free. A lesson when you're learning to water ski, whatever happens, don't do it when you've got contact lenses like I've had. I lost 3 pairs of contact lenses learning to water ski. In the end, I had to wear Speedo goggles. Otherwise, I would have washed away my final pair of contact lenses and left myself unable to see anything. So, but it is a super spot. Amazing service, amazing food. And as a twin option with Dubai, I have to say, it will take an awful lot of beating, that one.
And then what would you actually say in terms of the actual durations for Dubai and then Mauritius? How would you work that? What would your advice be?
I'd probably do 3 nights, 4 nights in Dubai, and then I'd probably do a minimum of a week, because you've got a long flight from Dubai down to Mauritius. So probably do a minimum of a week in Mauritius. So a 10-day holiday, or even better, if you've got the time, a 2-week holiday would just be fantastic. Yeah.
And it's obviously renowned for its food too, Miles. So obviously, I'm guessing for that particular property that the food would have been amazing, no doubt.
The food's amazing. The spa is amazing. The water sports are amazing. I could probably occupy the next half hour just talking about that one. So that we've only done number 1. We need to move on. Oh, and I've got one final picture on this one, which that picture there sums up me and Mauritius. The sunsets are incredible there, and it is just a place, along with Dubai, if you've got chilling and relaxing on your mind and unwinding, then tough to beat, I think. A real favourite.
Very good, very good. We're going to move on now, I think, Miles, and we're going to look at, again, a kind of another twin centre, I think. We're going to go into Vancouver.
Yeah. So difficult one to choose, really. The reason, because, of course, there's loads of cities. Why have I chosen Vancouver? I just think the place has a lovely feel about it, for one. But secondly, it's its location and what you can do from there. And so for me, when you're there, the opportunity to take a seaplane out to Vancouver Island, you can land right in the harbour at Vancouver Island, and then you do the traditional afternoon tea at the Empress Hotel that's right on the front there. The other thing, I'm a bit of a gardening buff, and the Bouchard Gardens that are on the island, Vancouver Island, are absolutely spectacular. And so you've got that. Then you've also got, in walking distance from Vancouver City itself, you've got Stanley Park, which again is a wonderful park that you can spend hours just walking around. And so Vancouver as a city, lovely city, lovely vibe about it. But for me, it's that in combination with the accessibility to Vancouver Island, Stanley Park, and then obviously the other element to this twin centre is the Rockies, west coast of Canada, which is something amazing, I think, both for winter and for summer. I mean, I've got a picture here. That was taken last year. I went to Whistler last year. That's taken in Whistler Village, looking up the main street, and you can see the ski runs there coming down through the trees. But Whistler is a destination, along with Banff and Lake Louise, that are just as good in the summer as they are in the winter. So if you're not a skier and think, oh, it's no good for me, I don't ski. It is just a wonderful setting for walking in the summer. Chateau Lake Louise has the most amazing views across the lake that look wrong, really. They look wrong. They look plastic in every picture. You think, that can't be a real proper picture. It's got to be Photoshop, but it's not. It is amazing. Banff is another city, you know, another town where you've just got a kind of Wild West feel as you walk down the main street with lots of lodges and pubs and bars. You've got great hotels there. You know, the Banff Springs is probably one of my most favorite hotels in the world, I think, where a real oldie-worldy castle feel to it. And my memory is there. They've got a swimming pool where you can swim outside, and the view when you're outside in this lovely warm pool is viewed down the golf course with all the elk running wild across the golf course. It's just, Rockies is just amazing. And then I suppose if there's any one thing you can do to beat it, it's that one. For people that don't know what that is, that's the Rocky Mountaineer, the train that carries you through the Rockies, as you can see. And again, you look at the scenery there and going, it can't be right, it looks false. It's not. The scenery is every bit as amazing as that. And, you know, to combine the Rockies with the train journey like that on the Rocky Mountaineer, the ability to go out to Vancouver Island and see all the amazing things that it's got there, and Stanley Park. Nick, that's why it's made my list.
Yeah, I completely see why, Miles. And again, I think, of course, there's obviously the actual Gold Leaf carriage isn't on the Rocky Mountaineer, Miles. So I take it you went on the Gold Leaf. And of course, that's the one with the actual glass top carriage too. So giving you those perfect views of the waterfalls, mountains, lakes, national parks. And as you say, I think every step of that journey is just absolutely jaw-dropping, isn't it? Absolutely jaw-dropping.
Yeah, and I think I'd say if you can't afford the Gold Leaf, don't go yet until you can afford the Gold Leaf, because it absolutely is worth that little bit extra to be able to do it. It just makes it changes it from being a special trip into being an amazing, amazing trip as a result of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, of course, I think just to kind of finish on that one then, so Vancouver and obviously the Rockies, a fantastic twin centre. And I don't suppose you went bike riding through Stanley Park, did you, Miles? Because obviously you can stretch your legs a little bit if you so wish.
I walked.
Oh, did you? Very good.
I walked from the city out. It was lovely. I can remember the day vividly. It was brilliant.
Okay, right, then moving forward on to the next one. Thank you, Miles. We're now going to look at Australia. And two specific areas, so Tasmania and Western Australia. So why Tasmania first of all then?
Well, I think it's fair to say that, you know, most people, if I said Australia, would be thinking, yeah, he's going to say Queensland, the Barrier Reef, Sydney. He's going to talk about maybe the Red Centre and Ayers Rock. But actually, for me, the kind of the unknown bits for the special bits. And so Tasmania, a little tiny little dot that you see off the coast of Australia, and you think, oh, there can't be much there. I spent a week going around there and could have spent much longer. The capital, Hobart, down on the southeast, is a lovely, lovely city. Reminded me so much of home, as did an awful lot of Tasmania, actually. So you've got quaint pubs in Tasmania, make you feel really like you're at home. They're that kind of friendly pubs. But the absolute wow for me was Cradle Mountain, which is right in the middle of Tasmania. And so I stayed at a hotel called Cradle Mountain Lodge. As soon as you walk in, you've got a wood burner in your room with a little stack of wood right next to it. And you think, oh, I love this already. And every evening you go out on the deck and they feed the animals, and the animals come in from all over, these wild animals. And so I saw quoll, an animal I'd never even heard of. I saw duck-billed platypus, which are particularly quite rare. And then when I went out walking the following day, I followed a wombat round as I was walking around. The wildlife is just incredible. The scenery is incredible. And also, if you like beaches, the beaches on the East Coast are amazing. You know, it's a place that people overlook when it comes to Australia because it looks such a tiny little place, but it's really magical and special. And every time anybody asks me about Australia, I always try and encourage them to do Tassie because it's just different.
Yeah. And actually to venture further afield rather than those standard destinations, Miles, isn't it really?
Yeah, I mean, everybody does the triangle, if you like, Nick. So they do the Ayers Rock, they do the Barrier Reef, and they do Sydney. And you know, just pushing the barriers and doing something different can make a really special trip.
Well, actually, on this side as well, we were talking about Western Australia, weren't we? And one thing that we had in common, that we've both been to somewhere called the actual Pinnacles on the western side, just it's about 5 hours north of Perth. So do you want to talk about that a little bit, Miles, and get everybody to understand exactly on that west coast? And obviously we've got the Margaret River down that way too. It's just an unbelievable experience, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, again, one of the things on geography, and I was a bit naive, is you don't realise that actually from Sydney, it is a 5-hour flight across to get to Perth. It's an awful long way, same as from the UK to Cyprus. When you get there, what do? This picture is me. Behind me is a whale shark. They are absolutely massive. I cannot describe how huge they are. And they migrate down this coast. And I had the most sensational experience of swimming with the whale sharks. And it was incredible thing to do. And almost the kind of cherry on the top of my trip. So I started down in Perth, went up and did the Pinnacles as you did, which are these amazing pillars of salt that they have, like a whole field of these pillars of salt. It's incredible. You then make your way up the coast and you've got Monkey Mia there. You've got the Ningaloo Reef. The Ningaloo Reef is the kind of best way to describe it is it's the unknown barrier reef. Everybody knows the barrier reef. They don't know about the Ningaloo Reef, which is on the west coast of Australia and is just as special and great. So Monkey Mia, where the famous place where you feed the dolphins straight off the beach. We did that. Swum in the Ningaloo Reef, and then we ended up in Exmouth, which is where I did this from. Exmouth is a beach resort a long way up out of Perth, actually. But again, it's a great place to visit. Probably take you, what did it take us? About 4 days to drive up there. So it's a long old distance, but absolutely worth the journey. And then to top it all, come back down, spend a bit of time around Perth. Fremantle. I don't know whether you went to Fremantle as well, Nick, but
or it's Freo, isn't it? How they all call it down there, Miles, I think.
Freo, that's right. Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of Englishness about Freo. English pubs, English feel to the place, but again, it just sometimes places just have a vibe about them that you can't really name, and it was one of those sorts of places. I did put an extra slide in, actually, that it was one of my favourite ones. It's nothing to do with Western Australia, nothing to do with Tasmania. It's just an amazing picture. That's Kangaroo Island, that's just off South Australia. Sadly, everything that you see there has now been burnt. The whole lot was burnt completely. And so if you look at a picture now of that, literally it's brown both sides of that road, which is desperately sad. But Kangaroo Island, I just thought I'd put a plug in for Kangaroo Island as well, because I do love that as well. This is the family. So just off Perth and Fremantle, you've got Rottnest Island, which we did get on bikes, Nick. See, we can go on bikes. We biked around for the day. There are no cars allowed on Rottnest. And the famous thing for Rottnest is an animal called the quokka, which you only find the quokka on Rottnest. And the game is you always have to try and have a selfie taken with these quokkas. But for me, the place was just lovely. You can see behind there, the beach was special. The sea was stunning. You know, so the whole of that west coast of Australia just has something great about it for everybody. So again, a bit like Tasmania, you kind of think, yeah, we're going to Australia, we need to go to Sydney, and we need to do the Rock, and we need to do the Barrier Reef. Think about pushing to doing the West Coast or pushing to do Tasmania, because I will be straight back to these destinations again, and I will visit them again without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely, Miles. And, you know, as we kind of move over, I would say as well, down that Margaret River, down on the kind of southwest coast. Obviously, there's something like 200 different wineries there. So there's.
I was just going to say, is there a connection between you and going on a wine place?
I'm moving swiftly forward. I think we're going to go to now, Miles. We're going to change continents. We're now going to go to a beautiful place I've never been. It's definitely on my bucket list, but that's South Africa. Yeah. So again, I think we're going to talk a little bit about Cape Town. So why is Cape Town so special to you?
Well, I think, again, it's a little bit like the conversation that we had about Vancouver. So Cape Town itself, what you've got there, you've got the waterfront, which is lovely and very, very safe. People worry about South Africa for safety. The waterfront is fantastically safe down there. The big wow that everybody will talk about is Table Mountain. And it is, again, one of those places that is as good as it looks, without a shadow of a doubt. It is wonderful. You can go around, if you want beaches, around to Camps Bay, which is literally next door to Cape Town. So again, what you've got with Cape Town, it's just a wonderful place to see other places, all in very, very close proximity. And obviously, can't not talk about this, particularly for you, without going out to the winelands of Franschhoek and Stellenbosch that are both, you know, a short drive outside of Cape Town. And again, fantastic wines coming from there, tours of the wineries. You know, I did all of those sorts of things, and I just love Cape Town. I just thought it was just a city that had it's just lovely about, and everything about it was great. And it's the proximity for doing other experiences that I loved. Yeah,
good. And then again, what would you say as an average of a night's stay in Cape Town, Miles? And then obviously we're going to go and now and talk about a safari and obviously a national park.
I'd probably be doing 4 or 5 nights, something like that, and then move from there. Or if you only want to do a couple of nights in Cape Town, you can actually stay out in the winelands as well. If you're a real wine buff, then why not stay out there? You can stay in some of the wineries there, which is even more special.
Good. Okay. So obviously the second part of this kind of twin centre, and can you tell us a little bit more about Kruger National Park, Miles? And obviously, whilst it's very well known, obviously we can see obviously the actual Big Five there, but of course this holds a bit of a special place in your heart, doesn't it? This location.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you fall in love with places, and this picture was my room at a safari lodge called Lion Sands. So I actually had my own little plunge pool there that you can see. And just beyond that, you literally had the wildlife coming up to the watering hole. So you had elephants, you had giraffes, you had everything literally. So you're in your plunge pool watching the wildlife literally out in front of you. And the one thing I would say, having done a few safaris, that's nice about Kruger is that you don't feel like you're on you're at Longley, where there's a whole load of people all following you around. You get that rugged kind of experience that you're out there seeing it. There is the excitement of, you know, game drives where you don't see anything. And then you go out the following morning and you can see 3 out of the 5 of the Big Five, you know. So it was that was really lovely. And I guess the other thing, and I didn't stay here, but I visited, Lion Sands has probably the most amazing treehouse that you can stay in I think I've ever seen. So that is the deck of the treehouse you're looking at there, where those people are stood. So you're in the canopy looking out down the valley, and you're listening to all the wildlife making all these noises at night. And yes, you do sleep there. There's the bed you sleep on. So literally kind of wide open to the elements. And you think, well, is there a bathroom there? Well, yeah, there is. That's the bathroom. And so you're literally sat there in the canopy. And what you do, they take you out to this accommodation. And when they drop you off and leave you, you pull the drawbridge up so you can't get wildlife come and see you in your treehouse and visit you at night. But it is a really, really amazing treehouse. But the whole place at Lion Sands I just found was just brilliant. And the Kruger experience was lovely because of its ruggedness. I think, you know, I've done, I kind of call them a little bit plastic safaris, where everything's quite, you know you're going to see the Big Five because they've all sorted it out in advance, so you definitely see them. You didn't get that feeling in Kruger. It was a real experience, and you didn't know what was going to happen next, and I loved it. In combination with Cape Town, tough to beat.
Good. Well, obviously sounds as though you're very, very close to nature there, Miles. So that's great. Now we're going to move on now, just looking at the time too, so about halfway through. We're now going to talk about a different type of holiday altogether now. We're going to talk about cruising, and specifically, Miles, in the Caribbean. Yeah,
crumbs. I've done lots of cruises, and so it's quite difficult to sort of think, well, why have you picked the Caribbean? You know, what is it? Why? When I've done the Baltics, I've done the Mediterranean, and loads of different cruises. Why have I picked the Caribbean? And I think, hopefully, let me know if this is. Can you hear the sound, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah. This kind of sums up for me what it's all about. I'll stop it so you can hear me. But every night when you leave, a calypso band playing, a cocktail in your hand, wonderful temperature sunshine. And I don't know what it is about a Caribbean cruise or what it does to the passengers on board the ship, but everybody's smiling. Everybody's happy. You're going to wake up the following morning in another Caribbean paradise island. And I just think, and again, I'll go back to my moods and motivations. If the mood and motivation is one of relaxation, recharging batteries and chilling, quite honestly, incredibly tough to beat. Because simply, everybody knows, everybody that's done a cruise will know, the ability to just wake up every morning in a new destination, not having to pack and unpack your bags is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And so, it's been tough to choose in terms of cruises, but that one gets the nod on, the Calypso cocktail factor for me.
And then Miles, the actual islands in the Caribbean, of course, there's so many. On a personal note, I think on my cruise there, I went to the Cayman Islands and actually swam with stingrays in Stingray Bay on Grand Cayman. So I've got some amazing memories, and I think, again, there's so much to see within the Caribbean. Which islands have you been to, and again, which kind of holds firm in the memory?
Oh, the one that sticks out without a doubt is the British Virgin Islands. Virgin Gorda, particularly, was just stunning. And I guess where you're right, Nick, is if you're thinking about going and having a full-on holiday in one of these islands, what better way to experience, 6 of them in a week than to do that and then go, do you know what? I really love Antigua, or, I can see Barbados has got something more over Antigua, because, in the course of the day that you've got, you dock at maybe 7 in the morning and you leave at 8 in the evening, you have an opportunity to go around most of the islands, because these islands aren't huge. And so you get a feel for the place to see whether you like it or not. And for me, Virgin Gorda was just top notch.
Yeah, good. Question, Miles, your favourite cruise line that is in the Caribbean?
Oh, don't get me on that one. Norwegian Cruise Lines. There we go. I enjoy my time with Norwegian Cruise Lines, NCL, doing that. I thought they were brilliant. Absolutely loved it. It's the casual dining that they offer.
Yeah,
the casual dining that they offer in what is a casual environment in the Caribbean. Time goes slowly, etc., and it just suits.
Good. Okay, so thank you once again. We're going to now swap continents once more. We're going to go down to South America, Miles. So again, which countries really stick out for you, and what do they make?
This is where we move on to my my to-do list, if you like, and the places that I'm yet to visit. And we'll start. Oh, hang on, still going. Ooh.
Is that relaxed? He hasn't heard you that you're going to the next destination, Miles.
There we go. So I guess people joining the Zoom probably weren't expecting to see a picture of an alpaca coming up on one of the slides. But it does explain, that's Hector, one of my alpacas at the farm. And one of the reasons for my motivation for South America is to go to Peru and see alpacas in the wild. So that's on my list. Obviously, while you're there, the opportunity to do the Inca Trail, just spectacular to be able to do that. So that's on my list as well. And so it's hard, because every person I've spoken to that's been to Argentina says to me, Miles, you've got to go to Argentina. It's just an amazing destination. Chile, a place that people rarely talk about for holidays. Same thing. I've had 2 friends go to Chile and say, got to go to Chile. Just amazing scenery, amazing people, amazing experience. And so, it's stretching it for me a little bit, because the answer is I think I've probably got about 3 or 4 holidays in South America that's on my bucket list. I mean, I kind of managed to incorporate them all in one, but actually it's cheating, because there's probably 3 or 4 in there that I want to do. But I think what I'd do is I would start with doing Peru, the opportunity to see these amazing creatures in the wild, the alpacas and the llamas. And then again, to twin that with the Galapagos Islands would be, and probably if you're talking about, I've listed this one first on my list, it's probably is top of my list to do the Galapagos. This ship, Celebrity Flora, is brand new, as you can probably see from the picture. So they've just launched this. This ship is going round the Galapagos now. And I just look at that in combination with the opportunity to do Peru, and just think that is an amazing holiday. And my brother works in conservation and in wildlife, and he keeps saying to me that the Galapagos won't go on forever. He said they're going to restrict the amount of tourists every year and keep restricting the amount of tourists. So he said, if you want to do Galapagos, get it in soon. And so, I think the opportunity to go on something as sensational as the Celebrity Flora and see the Galapagos in combination with Peru is great. Although, I will put a little call in to say, what about Argentina and Chile as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, I actually think, Miles, as you've said, it has so much to offer. If you think, in South America, you've already mentioned Peru and Machu Picchu, you've got Rainbow Mountains. And of course, when we look at things like the Iguazu Falls, Angel Falls in Venezuela, there's just so much, isn't there? But I think, like you've said, the actual beauty that is the Galapagos, we need to make sure that we're responsible, aren't we, with our own travel too, and that we actually keep it that way as well.
Yeah,
right,
I do admit it's a bit of a cheat, that one, because that probably is 5 holidays that I've just talked about then as being one.
Absolutely. But why not? Why
not? Absolutely.
This is your list. List.
Okay,
so we're now going to stick with Alaska, with cruising, and go to Alaska Miles. So again, I think from my side, and again with what I see day to day within work, I think Alaska is one of our most popular cruises. And I think obviously you've got places like Skagway and the Glacier Bay, but again, you've not been there yet. So why is this on your top 5 must-dos?
Well, I'm going to sum it up with one picture. There we go. There's the one picture that sums it up for me. I enjoy my cruising. I absolutely do. I find it a very relaxing experience. Service and food is always great. To combine that with the kind of scenery you get while you're going up the coast, the Alaskan coast, seeing things like that with the penguins and the ability to get off on some of these ribs and get even closer to that sort of wildlife, it just appeals to me hugely. Absolutely appeals to me hugely, because, doing cruises where you're going from, the Mediterranean destinations, you go around to, you go to Malaga and Palma and Cannes and Monte Carlo, Rome, Venice. This is just completely different, totally different. And I guess there's a bit of a theme running through a lot of the places that I've talked about, and that's the wildlife element of it. And I think what better than to experience something as magical as this, with the combination of being on a lovely cruise ship to take you around as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Again, I think from what we see and what we know, there are some great tours as well that some of the cruise partners can take you on, and they'll tell you why the glaciers are blue and what the impact of global warming is. So a lot of it's quite educational, isn't it? So we understand exactly our impact of what we do. And of course, the wildlife is absolutely second to none as well.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, right now, so something slightly different. We're going to keep on that animal front, as you kind of started there with the penguins in Alaska. We're now going to move over to Asia, and on your bucket list that you've not been to is Borneo. And I think actually, Miles, this is the only destination that I've actually been to and you haven't. So I feel very lucky, very lucky.
Well, I'm unhappy about this. Again, picture tells 1,000 stories. Why do I want to go? Listening to people like you that have come back. I had some friends that went last year, and they're very, very well-traveled people. And they were blown away by the whole experience. You think, oh, is it going to be over-commercialized and all these kind of things that are in your head? But it certainly was not. And the experience they had was absolutely brilliant. And so seeing the orangutans in Borneo has got to make my list. And so I've got to find time to do it, to get out to Borneo and do it. So give us a few words. Did it disappoint you? Did it over? What was it?
Well, I think it goes down to probably my most memorable holiday, actually, Miles. We actually flew into Kota Kinabalu, which is on the northwest of the island, and then we took an internal flight over to the kind of northeast side. I think it's Sandakan, if I remember correctly. And the actual rehabilitation centre we went was called Sepilok, and not only was there orangutans there, but there was also the big-nosed proboscis monkey as well. So they were the kind of, there, a few dotted in between. And the actual viewing platform there, very quiet, as you would imagine. And when it was feeding time, there were a few people there. But again, you could let people move out, and then there's myself, my partner, and you know, we were just sat there, and she turned around and said to me, you know, this is just like heaven, because we were there in the middle of this rainforest where we were watching these little baby orangutans hug onto their mums, and we were just sat there, and we just felt, you know, the kind of luckiest people alive to actually view that for ourselves. But just fantastic. I recommend it to anybody. And again, as you say, it's not very commercialized. So I think at the moment, and again, a lot of it is about what we put back into the local community there too. So that's super important.
Yeah, he was saying to me, you know, you have to have permits to be able to visit, and the permit money goes back to the conservation work that they're doing out there. So there's a kind of feel good factor to it as well.
Absolutely. Okay, now we're coming down to the final two. Both remain actually in Asia. And first, Miles, we're actually going to go to China. So again, I've never been to, but absolutely fascinates me. So, you know, why does this appeal to you?
Again, kind of a wildlife thing. There you go. So seeing the pandas at Chengdu, I've sat through numerous presentations and presentation evenings on China, and I've watched them. And every time I watch them, I think, oh yeah, got to one day. And so, you know, China is a massive country. And again, a bit like South America, really, you know, you can't bite it off all in one go. And so, you know, my first trip, I want to do the Great Wall of China because I feel that's a bit of a box tick and one I'd really like to do. Chengdu is important to me because I'd love to see these amazing pandas. And then the other one that might be slightly different for some people is Guilin, the river, where these amazing fishermen have these cormorants, these pet cormorants that actually go down and do the fishing for them. And it's just such a one-off that I just love to go and see that happening. You know, you can watch videos on YouTube, you can do anything you like, but for me, it's one of those where you've got to go and experience it and see it. And so, you know, Great Wall, Chengdu to see the pandas, followed by watching these chaps and their cormorants down the river would be a magical trip.
Yeah, absolutely magical. Just a quick one, Miles. Whilst you talk about the Great Wall of China, do you know how long it is?
No, how long?
Well, it would take you all of 3,100 miles to walk if you wanted to walk the whole distance. So I'll suggest that you put much longer than 7 to 10 days, Miles, I think. Okay, so that's great for our penultimate top 10 and our fourth in your kind of major must-dos in your bucket list. So finally, we're going to end up within India. So I suppose for me, it's the same question. So why does India appeal? And what specifically would you go for?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to India. I've been to India for business. So I've been to Delhi. I've been to Mumbai. So I've been to India, but I went for business. And so it gave me a taste for what India is all about. And, you know, whilst I've been to Thailand, I've been to Hong Kong, India was completely different. You know, where can you be in the middle of a city and you know, there's cows wandering the streets in the middle of the city? I mean, it's just such an off-the-wall place. And yet you've got things like this Taj Mahal that are just iconic. And again, you know, the picture looks false, but friends that go tell me looks just like that. It is as special as it looks. And so, you know, I would like to go and see the Taj Mahal. That said, at the same time, I think, and this is taking the experience one stage further, if you like. The Maharajas Express is a train where you can do an Indian Splendor tour that takes you to the Taj Mahal and takes you around to other amazing places where you can see, you know, the tigers that they have in India. You can see them on exactly the same trip. And so the ability to do, again, kind of 3 holidays in one, this would be, or more for me, in terms of what this tour would offer, would just be a spectacular one for me to do. And, you know, I know there's an awful lot more to India, like there is an awful lot more to China and South America, but you got to start somewhere. And for me, this one's right up there, one I've got to do, no doubt about it. Have you been to India?
Yes, I've actually been a couple of times, but more kind of West Coast to Goa and Kerala. But I think for me, Miles, you know, to actually go there and meet the people are just the most gentlest, the most loveliest people. The food, of course. I think one of the big surprises for me when they talk about spice, it wasn't hot spice, it was tasty spice. So for those who actually don't like, you know, hot Indian food, I think it's something that we do here in the UK that makes it that hot. But the culture, as I say, the actual kindness, I definitely do that. And again, I think something that I want to do that's been recommended to me is the Ranthambore National Park, again, where the tigers are. I think it's about 3 hours or so south of Jaipur. So there's lots to see. Again, one of those destinations, like you said, then, you know, on a few occasions this evening, that there's so much to see. You can't possibly see it on one holiday. You've got to go back time and time again.
I think that's the magical thing. This train goes there. And so the chance to see the tigers on this train and the Taj Mahal all on one trip. And of course, the scenery, because you're on a train, the scenery as you go past and seeing some of the real India, really, as you go in between the destinations is just a great opportunity.
Yeah, excellent. Really good.
Okay, so
that's it.
We've done it. And how much have I run over? Actually, I haven't run over, so that's pretty good. It surprised me because I probably could have talked for 45 minutes on Australia alone, to be perfectly honest with you. Very, very easily indeed.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Has there been any questions in on the chat? Just have a quick look.
Let me have a look.
I don't think so just yet.
We must be doing well if we've had no challenging questions.
No, it's very
so please ask away. Equally, you know, if there's anything that you've seen tonight where you want to ask me another question, then, you know, pop into your shop, or a lot of you know that you can email me anyway directly. So just get in touch. And what Nick's going to do is put together some of these amazing trips. Obviously, with a lot of them, they're so tailor-made and bespoke, but we'll put together some suggestions of the types of things you can do in some of these destinations. As you can imagine, from the last 5 destinations, I will be looking intently at them to see whether I can do one of them, to be honest, because I'm that keen to do those last 5. But we'll send some round so you can see exactly the sort of thing that we've got on offer in some of these destinations. But because so much of it is bespoke, you'll look at it and you'll have to change it, you know, because if you look at just the Australian options that I gave, you know, I did a tour, self-drive tour up the West Coast. I kind of made it up as I went along. You might want to stay longer in one place, shorter in another, and so we can pretty much tailor make whatever it is you're looking for.
Actually, Miles, so I was going to say, just on the Western Australia piece, what we're seeing at the moment is that self-drive element, and of course the motorhomes. They're really popular at the moment. We're getting a lot of demand for those, obviously, because people with the current traveling conditions, they want to make sure that they're in their own space and actually can see things at their own leisure. So that's a very good point. Very good point.
So what places did you think about that didn't make the list? Oh, crumbs. Where do I start with that one, really? I think Russia. I've been to St. Petersburg. And I thought St. Petersburg was really, really special, way, way better than I was ever expecting. The palaces and everything were tremendous. And so I would dearly love to go to Moscow. It's a place I haven't been to. And so Moscow would be one of the places that I would be desperate to go to, I think. So that would make the list. The other one, and this one nearly got in, and that would be the South Pacific. I've been to Fiji, and Fiji is like paradise. But I would love to go to Bora Bora, or I'd love to go to the Cook Islands. And so those were the ones that were kind of vying, if you like, to get into the 5 places that I want to go to. Can you tell us a bit more about the Paradis in Mauritius? Yeah, I can talk to you for hours about the Paradis in Mauritius. It's a beachcomber hotel down in the southwest corner of Mauritius. It has loads and loads of different room types. So it has everything from your standard hotel room down to a beachfront with private pool villa that they have right on the beachfront there. So they've got every different type of accommodation. It's generally sold on a bed and breakfast basis, but you can have half board. They regularly do half board deals free of charge. You can upgrade in the off season. So they do things like that. If there's any negative to say in there, and I like to call it as it is, The only negative would probably be the fact it is right down in the southwest corner. And so because of that, you know, if you want to go and to St. Louis, the capital, Port Louis, then it would take you a little bit longer to get up there from some of the other destinations on the island, you know, Grand Bay up in the north. But it is really, really great. Oh, another question from Richard. Richard, I've got to answer that one and say, no, I haven't. I've thought about it a lot. It hasn't made the list. Why hasn't it made the list? Probably because I've got this feeling in my mind that it's just going to be what you see is what you get and not much more. And I'm going to walk around the island 3 or 4 times. And if I'm not in that mood for the chill factor, I'm going to think, well, what do I do now? And so it's a tough one to call that one. It would probably be there, but probably be behind a few other places. We are going to actually do a Maldives Zoom shortly, because one of the questions we get regularly asked is, and Nick might even know the answer to this, it's going to be a big number, how many islands there are in the Maldives with accommodation on.
Well, I actually don't know how many miles, but obviously from our side, it's been our top selling destination now for the past kind of 12 months all the way through what's been going through what we have. It's really, really popular. The quality that we know is absolutely there. The service is second to none. And of course, usually if you can get, you know, something with an all-inclusive board basis, which is, again, we have some exclusives in the Maldives. And of course, the overwater villas are the most popular kind of types of accommodation that we sell.
Yeah,
So,
I think the one thing I would say about the Maldives is, like a lot of places, and particularly, I often regularly talk when I do presentations on cruise ships, that the choice of cruise ship is crucial because you're on it for the duration, if you like. The same is true in the Maldives. Don't think that every island in the Maldives is the same. They are absolutely not. And you'll find some that are more suited to you than others. You know, for me, I'd probably be looking for a slightly bigger one because there's more choice of restaurants and bars and things to do. Some people just want island paradise, one restaurant, one bar, you know, small numbers of people. And so it's horses for courses. But if you're interested in going to the Maldives, check it out with us and we'll check it out with Nick's people, because it is not all the same. You kind of think that all the atolls are the same and all the hotels are the same. They're certainly not. They're very, very different. Sand in the Maldives, like that. Yeah, the Paradis, the beaches at Paradis are tremendous. Absolutely amazing. Golden sand. And you can snorkel straight off the beach as well. So, you know, like I said, I could talk about it for a while, but it's a special spot for me. Really, really lovely. We've done well, Nick.
We have. I was going to ask you, Mars, actually, if you had to recommend one of your kind of top 5 that you've been to in terms of what is best for couples. Again, they're all slightly different, but if you wanted that special getaway and to celebrate an anniversary or a special occasion, what would you say?
If you're beachy people, it would undoubtedly be Mauritius. If you're more cities and relaxation people, it might well be Dubai, simply because, you know, the flight is, you have to take everything into account. And so, you know, the flight time to Dubai, about 7 hours, is not that far for the amazing weather you can get, particularly in the winter. And so, you know, lovely boutique hotels there as well. And so depending on your motivation, if your motivation is beach, then Mauritius. Otherwise, I'd probably go for Dubai. If you want to go further afield, then Australia just has it all.
Good.
Tough one, though. Tough question. Very tough.
Right. Are there any other last questions in the chat?
No, I think we've done well.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, can I just say, Nick, thank you very much for
thank you.
hosting and asking me all the tricky questions. Thank you, everybody, for joining. As I say, we'll send some offers through to you shortly. But also, I hope you've enjoyed it. The reason we did this was hopefully to inspire you to travel to wherever ticks your bucket list, not mine, what ticks your bucket list. And hopefully, maybe seeing some of this, you might think, oh, yeah, Mauritius, got to give that a go, or some of the another amazing places, you know, the Rockies. I mean, I could talk forever about the Rockies as well in terms of how special they are. So I hope you really enjoyed it. Like I say, as usual, any follow-up questions, do get in touch with your local shop or with me directly, and we can obviously contact Nick's people and look after you with the holiday. So in the meantime, thank you everybody for joining. I hope you enjoyed the evening. Thanks very much.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.